The pattern of inheritance, variation and mutation. Aims of lesson. At the end of the lesson, learners should be able to define concepts relating to creative thinking and problem solving. Apply the knowledge and skills associated with the topic, the pattern of inheritance, variation and mutation as mentioned above. Introduction. Previous content that was dealt with in Term 2 must be linked to the current content. Basic animal genetics. Purpose of the next lesson is to discuss the content associated with the pattern of inheritance, variation, and mutation. Concepts and skills. The pattern of inheritance that leads to different phenotypes. Incomplete dominance. Incomplete dominance occurs when heterozygous offspring show a phenotype that is between the phenotypes of homozygous parents. We can say it is a form of intermediate inheritance, and a combined phenotype is the result. When we do genetic crosses involving incomplete dominance, we use two different capital letters to represent the genotypes of the parents. This indicates that one allele is not dominant over the other. Codominance. Codominance means that both alleles are equally dominant, 50%, the one does not dominate the other and there is no mixture of the phenotypical characteristics of the two parents as in incomplete dominance. Both traits are now equally visible in the phenotype of the offspring. Multiple alleles. When there are more than two alleles for the same gene, we call them multiple alleles. Even if multiple alleles exist within a population, individuals will have only two of those alleles because each individual has only two biological parents. We inherit half of our genes, alleles, from our mother, and the other half from our father, so we end up with two alleles for every trait in our phenotype. A good example of multiple allele inheritance is human blood type. Blood type exists as four possible phenotypes, A, B, AB and O. There are three alleles that determine human blood groups, or LA, LB, and I. LA is dominant over I. LB is dominant over I. LA and IB are codominant. Polygenic inheritance. Polygenic inheritance is the inheritance pattern of a characteristic controlled by two or more genes. The genes may be on the same or different chromosomes and each gene may have two or more alleles. Many traits such as color in wheat kernels, egg weight in poultry and fleece weight in sheep are examples of polygenic inheritance. Organisms with polygenic traits show a range of phenotypes and genotypes for those particular traits. Assume that skin color in cattle is controlled by three pairs of genes CA, B, and C. Black is the dominant gene in hide color. If a black Aberdeen Angus bull is mated with a white Charolais cow, the crossing can be represented in a genetic diagram. The amount of pigment in the hide can vary, as can the range of color. When there are more dominant alleles, the hide will be a darker brown to black color. When there are more recessive alleles, the hide will be a lighter brown to very light brown. In color, polygenic inheritance refers to two or more genes that have an influence on the phenotype of an organism. These genes are often responsible for the expression of a specific phenotype in combination with environmental conditions. Plants and animals show a large variation in traits, for example in mass, height and metabolic rate. The influence of the environment can be clearly observed in fish in a cramped space such as a fish tank, where fish has the gene to grow, but grows very little and stays small. Epistasis. Epistasis occurs when the effects of one gene are modified or changed by one or several other genes. The genes that modify another gene's effect are called modifier genes. A well-known example in cattle is the modifier genes in Charolais. When Charolais are crossed with red or black cattle, the offspring are off-white. This is the result of the modifier genes on different chromosomes blocking the red and black genes. Another example of epistasis is three-comb types of chickens. Pi rose comb x P comb. Both parents were pure lines. F1 all walnut combs. This is a new phenotype. F2 9 walnut, 3 rows, 3P, 1 single. Prepotency. Prepotency is the ability of certain animals to transmit their complete set of characteristics to their offspring. Under normal circumstances, the offspring inherit one allele from each parent for a specific trait or characteristic. There are exceptional cases where the male parent has the ability to transmit traits or characteristics that laminate the maternal characteristics. The thoroughbred industry makes use of prepotency in breeding horses. The horses pass on their traits consistently to their offspring through genetic homozygosity, hybrid vigor, or both. Characteristics such as gait can be passed on to the offspring. Damara sheep have a great ability to transmit characteristics of their breed to the offspring when they are crossed with other breeds. Atavism. Atavism is the tendency to revert to ancestral type. It is an evolutionary throwback, such as traits reappearing which had disappeared generation before. Originally Friesland cattle were red and white in color. Through selective breeding, the color pattern was changed to black and white. The red color is recessive and the black color dominant. It sometimes happens that a black and white bull and cow produce a red and white calf. In this case, both the spermatozoa and the ovum transmit the recessive characteristic to the zygote, which then possesses a double Recessive characteristic. The sex chromosomes and sex-linked characteristics. Nearly all animals and many plants have male or female individuals. In most of these cases, sex is determined by special sex chromosomes. Sex chromosomes. For most organisms, sex is determined by chromosomal differences. The body cells in cattle, for example, are diploid and consist of 30 pairs of chromosomes. Only one pair of these chromosomes differs. The pair that differs is known as the sex chromosomes, or X and Y chromosomes. The other 29 pairs, 58 chromosomes, are known as autosomes. In the cow, the two sex chromosomes are identical. They are known as the XX pair of chromosomes. A cow therefore has 58 chromosomes plus the two sex, XX, chromosomes in every somatic, body, cell. In the bull, one of the sex chromosomes resembles that of the female and is also called the X chromosome. The other one does not resemble the X chromosome and is called the Y chromosome. Therefore, the somatic cells of a bull have 58 plus XY chromosomes. If a male gamete, 29 plus X chromosomes, fuses with a female gamete, 29 plus X chromosomes, the zygote has 58 plus XX chromosomes and develops into a female. If a male gamete, 29 plus Y chromosomes, fuses with a female gamete, 29 plus X chromosomes, the zygote has 58 plus XY chromosomes and develops into a male. If a male gamete, 29 plus X chromosomes, fuses with a female gamete, 29 plus X chromosomes, the zygote has 58 plus XX chromosomes and develops into a female. If a male gamete, 29 plus Y chromosomes, fuses with a female gamete, 29 plus X chromosomes, the zygote has 58 plus XY chromosomes and develops into a male. Sex-linked characteristics. The sex chromosomes not only carry the genes that determine male and female traits, but also genes for some other characteristics. Genes that are carried by either sex chromosome are said to be sex-linked. In humans, baldness and color blindness in men are caused by sex-linked genes. An example of a sex-linked trait in animals is found in tortoiseshell cats. Genetic terminology. Variation. The differences in the phenotypes of plants or animals of the same species under the influence of the genes and the environment is called variation. An example of variation would be that two calves that are of the same age, breed and are exposed to the same environment, but one is much bigger than the other. Mutation. A mutation is a sudden change in the genetic composition of an organism. A new allele originates, which may be transmitted to the following generations. Mutations could be caused by changes in genes or changes in bigger parts of chromosomes. When a mutation occurs, the genotype and phenotype of that individual are affected. This results in changes in the organism's physical appearance, behavior, and physiology. Example: the Ancon sheep that has a mutation that makes its legs very short. External and internal causes of variation. External causes of variation. Diseases: plants and animals develop immunity against diseases when they are constantly exposed to them. For example, sheep and cane develop immunity against tick bite fever as a result of constant exposure to ticks. Climate: Hereford cattle kept in wider areas are covered by protective hair, whilst those found in warmer regions do not have the thick hair cover. Moving space and exercise: animals that are kept in small enclosures, such as calves restrained for the production of veal or battery chickens, will show physical changes such as weaker and thinner legs, light intensity, among other things. The higher the altitude, the darker the pigmentation. Feeding: or when two animals with a reasonably identical genetic composition are fed food rations that differ in quantity and quality, variation will develop between them over time. Topography: Nguni cattle are exceptionally well adapted to cover great distances daily and to climb steep hills. Internal causes of variation. Recombination of genes. During fertilization, the parent's genes recombine. Recombination only shuffles already existing genetic variation and does not create new variation. Types of mutagenic agents and their effects. A mutagenic agent or mutagen is any factor that causes a mutation to occur. Different mutagenic agents act on DNA differently. For example, some mutagenic agents may change the structure of the DNA molecule itself. Others affect sections of DNA on the chromosomes. This may cause breaks in the chromosomes and rearrangement of the chromosomes. Chemical mutagenic agents. An example of a chemical mutagenic agent is nitrite. Nitrite is commonly used as a food preservative that keeps red meat red, and can be present in feeds. Nitrites cause damage to the structure of DNA. Physical mutagenic agents. An example of a physical mutagenic agent is radiation. Sources of radiation include the sun, cell phones, and electric power lines. Radiation damages DNA by preventing the two strands of the molecule from pairing. Mutations caused by radiation have been linked to the development of certain types of cancer, such as skin cancer. Biological mutagenic agents. An example of a biological mutagen is a viral infection. The viral DNA is inserted into the DNA of the infected individual. This can prevent genes from functioning properly or can cause the DNA to make viral DNA and thus new viruses. Manufacture of new viruses normally results in cell death, which can cause illness and death of the host organisms. Changes in chromosome structure. Mutagenic agents can cause chromosomes to break, and some may not rejoin in the same pattern as before. Chromosomal rearrangements affects the expression of genes and causes changes in the phenotype. New patterns in chromosomal structure may be brought about. Types of chromosome mutation. Part of a chromosome is lost, deletion. Part of a chromosome is duplicated, duplication. Part of a chromosome is inserted in a reverse order, inversion. Genetic material is transferred from one chromosome to another, translocation. Somatic mutations. Thus far we have considered hereditary mutations, i.e., those that occur in the germ cells or gametes, and are thus passed on to the next generation, if they are not lethal, to the developing fetus. Similar changes can occur in other parts of the body, in the somatic or body cells. Somatic cell mutations can cause areas in which the hair, skin or feathers are different from elsewhere on the body. Induced mutations. The rate at which mutations occur can be accelerated by various mutagenic forces. Those most extensively used are radiations of various kinds, particularly X-rays. It is used for inducing mutations in bacteria and other simple organisms. Several chemical substances have mutagenic properties. These include mustard gas, a most destructive gas sometimes used in warfare. Radioactive radiation from nuclear accidents is also mutagenic, and many people exposed to radioactivity develop various forms of cancers. Activity/assessment. Learners can also use the following sources of information to do activities. Relevant grade 12 textbooks. Focus Control Testbook grade 12. Mind the Gap Agricultural Sciences grade 12. Pass Agricultural Sciences grade 12. Unit 2 page 88, revision questions page 89 to 90. Pass grade November 12th exam papers. Consolidation. The lesson covered the content as stipulated in the CAPS document. Learners who understand the content should apply the knowledge and skills required to successfully answers questions based on the curriculum content. Learners will be able to use the knowledge and skills as a sound foundation for progression to the next topic. Selection.
Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more future educational videos.